Hi, this is Miriam Hoffman, and this is my video on multiple variables in clinical research design for HP 472. I'd like to start with actually looking at the word research, which comes from the French recherche. That's a word that means to actually carefully examine, to look at thoroughly, to gain further insights into what we're actually looking at, and that's what we're doing as researchers. Um, the relentlessness of life, the relentless change that life brings about in random forms of all kinds, that leads to our evolving as a species and evolving, the planet evolving itself, kind of works counter to this all. We are trying to really gain like a small snapshot of what we're actually looking at and to examine closely the process that happens. That's part of the nature of research, why it keeps compounding itself, and we have to be willing at any point to walk away what we think we know at that particular time, to examine more thoroughly what we have to do. Um, a lot of this has been helped along by the plethora of software in the last 20 years, in the and the advent of the internet, and Microsoft Office and Excel and all of those different kinds of programs that we can use to look at any number of variables over the course of time, over the course of a research study. Um, all of this can be like can be overwhelming, and there is a tendency to try to look at too much. So take for instance like a let's say some kind of herbal remedy that comes along, and you test 1,000 people, and you start dividing into groups and doing analysis that way, and you come up with a couple of groups that happen to have like a couple groups of say 50 to 100 that have like really high uh, uh, high results in these things, and that they're getting a lot of effect off this herbal remedy. And if you don't sort enough between those two, that can tend to give uh, statistical significance to this effect that might not actually be there. Um, or if you're looking at too many variables, you can get kind of make subgroups can be presented that can not make any sense to anything, and those subgroups can end up being studies in and of themselves, or weight your research in such a way that it can show significance when it's not really there. Um, in the Wittes article, she has like 5 keynote things that she recommends for this all. To use statistical methods that capture the framework for the prior hypothesis. This would involve, like your basic study design and what you want to do with all of that. Um, Placing greater emphasis on the overall result than what may be apparent in a subgroup. This has to do with looking at all your subgroups in total and doing careful analysis, not to weight any single group. Distinguish between prior and data-driven hypotheses. Do not calculate the p-values for the data-driven hypothesis, because p-values bear little resemblance to what could occur if we were testing independently of another study. That has to do with absolutely looking, instead of deciding what you're going to look at, to actually look at what you're going to look at what is actually there. Use tests of interactions and correct for multiplicity of statistical comparisons. This is one of the things that ANOVA can do, that it will like look at your covariates, it will look at your confounders, and it'll look at interactions between different things. And finally, to interpret the results in the context of similar data from other trials, from the architecture of the entire set on the data of all patients, and from the principles of biologic coherence. This is all important, to not imagine things and to be willing to walk away from what we think we know at any given time in research. And to invariably to look again. So that's about what I have to say. Thanks.